All right, all brothers remove the head coverings. All sisters pray with their heads covered. We face the east towards Jerusalem. Elder Mikael, can you go ahead and open us up with prayer, please?
Our Father, most holy and true covenant Elohim, Abraham, Yishak, and Yaakov. Give you thanks for the Yahweh, Yeshua's holy and mighty name for the Yahweh, our Messiah, our brother, our friend for the Yahweh. We ask for the Yahweh to touch our hearts for the Yahweh. Open our hearts, open our understanding for the Yahweh, to receive your holy and mighty word for the Yahweh. Because we need your nourishment every day for the Yahweh. Because, Father, we wind up transgressing your laws, Father, through our thoughts for the Yahweh, sometimes through our actions for the Yahweh. We ask your holy mighty forgiveness of these things for the Yahweh, and help us for the Yahweh to keep on your narrow path, Father. So we need the knowledge of your word, Father, to embrace our hearts for the Yahweh, so we can understand, Father, your word for the Yahweh, and walk the right path for the Yahweh. Because we know for the Yahweh, our flesh wants to lean to the left or to the right for the Yahweh. And even the imaginations try to come into our mind for the sometimes for the Yahweh. But no, if we stay our mind on you for the Yahweh, we can rebuke those things, Father, because we know they come from the enemy. Heavenly Father, we ask to touch our brothers with your word for the Yahweh, and let your ministry flow through their mouths for the Yahweh, to reach the four corners of the world for the Yahweh, to touch those, Father, who you will, Father, those going to follow you. Give you thanks and praise, Father, for your love and your kindness and your tender mercy you bestow upon us for the Yahweh. And we give you all praise in Yeshua's holy and mighty name for the Yahweh. Amen. Amen.
All right, Shabbat Shalom. My name is Yedan Yasharal. I'm with my brother Yonatan Yasharal. Shabbat Shalom. And the title of today's Shabbat study is The Patience of the Faithful. The Patience of the Faithful. And, we pray and we ask for, for certain things and for guidance and protection. But do we have the patience to wait on Yah to answer our prayers? And we know we had a situation with King Saul where he was given several opportunities, where he was given the opportunity to be a good king and to be patient and to allow the Most High to show his will. But when it came down to waiting on something, if he didn't get what he wanted, or he didn't get the answer that he wanted, then he would go out on his own, to the point where, he would do the sacrifice himself because the servant, the prophet wasn't there to make it quick enough, or the priest, or, he wasn't getting the answer he wants. So he would go seek after people with familiar spirits. And that's the same things that we do in our lives, where we're given certain commandments to follow a certain instruction level, and we're praying for an outcome that we want. And instead of waiting on that outcome, or waiting on the Most High to show if that's his will, we start to take things in our own hands. And Yah, countless times, he reiterates with us, you can't even fathom the gifts and blessings and love that he has in store for us, for those that patiently wait on him. When we plant seeds, we have to patiently wait for that plant to germinate and to grow and produce fruit. And even if the tree grows, we got to wait for it to produce fruit. And it's the same in our lives. We have to have that patience of the faithful to say that we trust this word. We trust Yahweh. We believe Yahshua HaMashiach's words, that we are going to receive this. We just have to wait. So we're going to get into that. We're going to open up first in Micah chapter 7, or Micah chapter 7. Micah chapter 7.
Micah is after Amos and Obadiah, but it's before Habakkuk and Zephaniah and Zechariah. Micah chapter 7 and verse 1. Woe is me, for I am as when they have gathered the summer fruits, as the grape gleanings of the vintage. There is no cluster to eat. My soul desired the first ripe fruit. The good man is perished out of the earth, and there is none upright among men. They all lie in wait for blood. They hunt every man his brother with a net, that they may do evil with both hands earnestly. The prince asks, the judge asks for a reward, and the great man, he utters his mischievous desire, so they wrap it up. The best of them is as a briar.
I wanted to just stop at verse 2. It says that there is no upright amongst men. So I just wanted to take a look at that Hebrew word for upright, and you're going to see a familiar word there. It's H3477. It's Yashar, Y-A-S-H-A-R, Yashar, meaning straight, literally or figuratively, convenient, equity, jasher, just, meet, pleased, well, righteous, straight, uprightliness. So Yasher is also the book of Yasher, which is one of the Sefer writings, but it's also in the name of Yasharal. That's the first part of Yasharal. It's upright with all. And we understand what is upright with all. His word. His word is upright with all. And we are the upright ones, the Yasharun. We are the upright ones when we are aligned with his word. Go ahead.
Verse 4. The best of them is as a briar. The most upright is sharper than a thorn hedge. The day of your watchman and your visitation comes. Now shall be their perplexity. Trust you not in a friend. Put you no confidence in a guide. Keep the doors of your mouth from her that lies in your bosom. For the son dishonors the father. The daughter rises up against her mother. The daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. A man's enemies are the men of his own house. Therefore, I will look unto Yahweh. I will wait for the Elohim of my salvation. My Elohim will hear me.
All right. So for the son dishonoreth the father, the daughter rise up against her mother, the daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law, and a man's enemies are men of his own house, his own people, Yasharal. Now, it could even go, obviously, about your own house as well, because it's talking about daughter rising against mother, mother-in-law against her daughter-in-law. Now, where else do we hear this from?
Well, when Yahshua spoke about it.
Yahshua spoke about it. So he's pulling out of the prophets. He didn't just make this stuff up. These are prophecies that he's saying that I'm going to cause a division in the household. The only way you're going to have people on the same accord is two people can only walk together if they're agreed. So they have to agree that, yeah, we're going to govern ourselves by these commandments. We are going to walk according to this word. We are going to repent when we transgress. If there's no agreement with that, there's going to be that dissimulation amongst each other. But the servant says, I am going to look unto Yahweh. I am going to wait for the Elohim of my salvation. My Elohim will hear me. The Elohim of my salvation, Yah's salvation, Yahshua. So let's look at this word wait, and let's look at this word salvation. The word for wait in Hebrew was H3176. Yachal, which is spelled Yachal. And that's a primitive root to wait, by implication to be patient, hope, cause to have, make to hope, be pain, stay, tarry, trust, and wait. So even in the waiting process, you have to trust that what you're waiting for is going to come. So you ain't wait for him if you stood here for a little bit and be like, all right, he ain't coming, I'm gone. You ain't trust that he was coming. Now, in a Greek sense, you waited for a little while, but not in the Hebrew sense. The Hebrew sense always has actions tied with it. So when you're waiting on something, you have to trust and hope that it's going to come. And if you truly have faith and trust and hope that it's going to come, you're going to wait until it comes, because you know it's coming. Just like when we waiting on the sun to rise, we trust and we know that it's coming. We know that it's coming. So we don't say, oh man, it's 5:30. Sun ain't coming. The world is over. We wait. Go ahead, Elder.
I wanted to stay on this part, Maisha. You're always talking about Daniel, when he waited for Gabriel to come with the answer that he prayed for 21 days. And she would always say, that the king of Persia, stopped him from coming. So he had to call Miguel to come open the path for him. He said, but Yah heard you the first day you prayed. But he waited. He stayed faithful and waited on what he had prayed for, and consistently waited till Yahweh gave him an answer. Right. So this is what I guess we have to learn ourselves, is that if we're praying for something, if we're praying in the right way, what Yahweh says to pray for, not praying for something that, is evil, outside of what he would wish to give, because he's righteous, then we have to wait on that righteous prayer. We have to wait on Yahweh to give us our answer, and then we have to learn, is that the answer he's given us? Because that's our problem too, that we don't learn how to discern if Yahweh has answered our prayer or not. Because either way, he's going to give you an answer. He's going to answer it or he's not. So that's something that we need to think about.
Right. And that was a good precept. Even in that concept, the angel lets him know that, hey, look, man, I heard you from the first day you set your heart to be chastened for this prayer, to suffer for this prayer. I heard you from that first day. But we don't fight against flesh and blood. We fight against powers and principalities and spiritual wickedness in high places. So and then he told him furthermore, you had the prince of Persia, but after him, I got to deal with the prince of Grecia. There's angels, evil angels, just like we read in previous classes, evil angels that are over these nations that lead them away from Yah. Period.
Brother, this is still Micah chapter 7 and verse 3 all the way down. It talks about, they do evil with both hands. They bribe the judges. The son dishonors the father. The daughter rises up, and the whole house is in chaos. What that reminded me of was that Proverbs verse from chapter 30, verses 11 to 14. It says, there is a generation that curses their father and does not bless their mother. There is a generation that are pure in their own eyes and yet is not washed from their filthiness. There is a generation, oh, how lofty are their eyes, and their eyelids are lifted up. There's a generation whose teeth are as swords, and their jaw teeth as knives, to devour the poor from off the earth and the needy from among men. Right. So even from the Old Testament, it was prophesied that it's going to be a degeneration before the whole consummation of, the day of the Lord or the day of Yahweh. Right. And Yahshua said it, and his apostles said it in the writings. More so Saul, when he said in last days will be lawlessness. Right. Overflowing, and part of that is there's no respect, there's no honor for anyone. Everyone is just completely devourous and carnivorous, looking to tear down one another like knives and sharp, that they're being compared to knives and sharp swords. Right.
And that is prophesied when it talks about us being disconnected from our heritage, discontinuing our heritage. Our heritage is righteousness, being upright, period. Once we are disconnected from that heritage, we have no power, which means the wicked people of this earth are going to rule the earth, and they're going to do whatever their flesh tells them to do. And then add evil angels on top of them, telling them, burn your kids in fire, sleep with your mother, all the wickedness that these other nations do. And if we don't have a heritage, we're going to cleave a hold of what everybody else is doing. This is why the earth is in such utter chaos, because we don't know our own heritage. When we know our own heritage and we operate according to that, then we're in charge. We're the head. And then we're not going to allow those things to happen. And that's why you see these other nations with so-called Jewish customs and traditions. Because when we were walking into it, they were afraid to do wickedness, because the Most High would give us the power to destroy them. So they cleaved on to the little outward appearing things like, the Native Americans with fringes and, and all those type of different things that they would wear to be like, yeah, we cool with Yehudim too. We don't kill us. So looking at that word salvation, this is another derivative. This is the derivative that comes from Isaiah, Yeshayah. It's Yesha, which is H3468, which is the same one in Isaiah. And that's deliverance, prosperity, safety, salvation, saving. So all of his salvation requires him to wait and produce some kind of patient hope and faith and trust in the word.
What was the number?
Yesha, like in Yeshayahu, it's H3468, spelled Yesha. All right.
I'm continuing back at all 7. Therefore I will look unto Yahweh, I will wait for the Elohim of my salvation. My Elohim will hear me.
Micah chapter 7 and verse 8.
Rejoice not against me, O my enemy, when I fall. I shall arise. When I sit in darkness, Yahweh shall be a light unto me. I will bear the indignation of Yahweh, because I have sinned against him, until he plead my cause and execute judgment for me. He will bring me forth to the light, and I shall behold his righteousness.
And this is why the servant can say, don't rejoice when I fall, my enemy, because I'm going to come out of the darkness, because Yahweh is a light unto me, because I'm always going to accept the indignation of Yahweh because I have sinned. I'm honest enough with myself, and I remember the image in the mirror that I'm a sinful person. So, okay, let me repent. Let me pray unto my Yah. Let me deal with this punishment, because you are a punishment that's coming my way. Because if I was in righteousness, you would have never been able to rise up against me. So don't rejoice, because this is temporary. Go ahead.
Verse 10. Then she that is mine enemy shall see it, and shame shall cover her, which said unto me, where is Yahweh your Elohim? Mine eyes shall behold her. Now shall she be trodden down as the mire of the streets. In the day that your walls are to be built, in that day shall the decree be far removed. In that day also he shall come, even to you from Assyria, and from the fortified cities, and from the fortress even to the river, and from sea to sea, and from mountain to mountain. Notwithstanding, the land shall be desolate because of them that dwell therein, for the fruit of their doings. Feed the people with your rod, the flock of your heritage, which dwell solitarily in the wood of the midst of Carmel. Let them feed in Bashan and Gilead as in the days of old. According to the days of your coming out of the land of Mitzrayim, will I show unto him marvelous things. The nations shall see and be confounded at all their might. They shall lay their hand upon their mouth, their ears shall be deaf. They shall lick the dust like a serpent. They shall move out of their holes like worms of the earth. They shall be afraid of Yahweh our Elohim, and shall fear because of you. Who is all like unto you, that pardons iniquity and passes by the transgression of the remnant of his heritage? He retains not his anger forever, because he delights in mercy. He will turn again. He will have compassion on us. He will subdue our iniquities, and you will cast all their sins into the depths of the sea. You will perform it. You will perform the truth to Jacob and mercy to Abraham, which you have sworn unto our fathers from the days of old.
All right. Let's move back to Yeshayah chapter 25, Isaiah chapter 25.
Yah will.
And when you have who is like Yah, that who is me, and God would be all, so that you have the name Mikael in there, or when you have the statement who is like Yah, that's how you get the name Micaiah. Isaiah chapter 25. Yeshayah chapter 25, and we're going to start this at verse 1.
Mm-hmm. One of the reoccurring themes in the book of these prophets is about Yah cleansing Israel. Mm-hmm. Yah will justify Israel. Yah will bring them peace and restore them, and all the nations will be astounded and stuff like that. And a lot of people take the stance of what happened with Yeshua, where, you know, he claimed to be someone, and they're like, okay, Jerusalem should be restored today.
Right.
Like, it's gonna happen today. But a lot of people don't realize that Yah is not gonna just do it just suddenly to reveal to us like how he did, like how people were expecting it to be done when Yeshua was here.
Right.
Like, Jerusalem, you're supposed to restore, you're supposed to beat Rome right now.
Right.
But just like how we explained about, you know, you can't take a strange woman of another nation into your home without, you know, first purging, cutting the hair, going through some humbling period, mm-hmm. which is what this captivity is like. Yah's not gonna just all of a sudden just take us, throw us up in the land just like that. Where is the cleansing coming from? He's gonna follow that law. And do you understand how Yahshua plays into all of that? Is he who he said he was? Is his testimony true concerning reconciling Israel back unto the Father by purging their sins? They'll read in Isaiah, he will do away with their sins. He will take away their sins, to purge the iniquity of the people. How? Mm-hmm. And do you know how Yahshua fits into that theology of the Old Testament, of justifying filthy people?
You get a vessel that's filthy, you clean it out. If you don't keep it clean, it's just going to get dirty mm-hmm. again. Mm-hmm. So, you know, then he really have to destroy us. Oh, knock the bully off the block. I'm putting y'all right back up top, but y'all still acting like Gentiles. Mm-hmm. I got to kill you just like I killed the Gentiles. Mm-hmm. So only way that he can set us up is to regenerate our minds, mm-hmm. cause a rebirth process for us to become like our ancestors were in the beginning.
Mm-hmm. And he showed us that example in the Levitical priesthood. Everything that's purged is purged through some type of works. Mm-hmm. He wasn't just magically made, hey, you know what, you're going to be a priest of Levi just because I said so. No, you had to be anointed. Moshe had to go up to the top of the mountain. He's there 40 days. He ain't eating. He's coming down. Y'all scared because of the sound. Blood is being shed. Like, there's works. It's not going to just magically happen.
Right. Go ahead, Elder.
Good point you're making, brother. Also, that comes to what Yeshua said to the children of Israel about worshiping Yahweh. You know, I mean, he was telling them, Yahweh, you don't want to worship Yahweh because Yahweh do you good. Do you good and hurt you after you've done it. Mm-hmm. Because he's going to bless you. Like we just read that he rather mercy. You know, he delight in mercy, but his people are hard-headed, stiff-necked, which is, you know, sottish, you know, and they do not want to do the right thing, you know. So he says, if you do the right thing, Yahweh's going to bless you. But then you turn around and do something stupid, you know, do something against Yahweh, he's going to hurt you.
Right.
You know, and he says, so you got to be prepared. Understand what you're about to walk into. It's like we're going to be baptized. Understand what you're going to be baptized in. But one, don't run from your baptism. You know what I mean? Because that is what you're supposed to do, because Yahweh said you're supposed to be baptized, you know? Yeshua said be baptized, you know? So he did it to show you what we're supposed to do.
Right.
So, but you're supposed to accept what the Most High is telling you to do. Don't run from it. Because running from it, where are you going to hide? Right. How are you going to hide? How are you going to tell them, well, I don't want to do this now. I don't believe in you, so I'm going to put that on the side and do my own will. That's how our ancestors got destroyed in the wilderness. Mm-hmm. Because they talked against Father. Because they will not do what Yahweh said. So Yahweh destroyed all of us except what? Caleb and Joshua. From the older men that walked across. Everybody from what? 19 and younger, or 20, under 20 years old?
20 years old and
20 years and over died in the wilderness. People younger is the ones who had a chance. So that's a warning that he was trying to tell you. Get your mind right. Because when you worship Yahweh, you know, you have to be truth with him, you know, and repent for the things that you do. Don't run from him. And don't go against it because he got to chastise you. I mean, but you said earlier, you know, about how Yahweh will deal with his children. He will deal harshly with his children because we are the ones that he chose. And we didn't choose him. He chose us first. And then we made a covenant with him. Then we wind up breaking the covenant with him. He don't break his covenants. So he says, what, 2/3 you're going to die and 1/3 is going to follow me? That's pretty rough. He's like, say, I'm not letting go of you, but you letting go of me. And you got how you say, a penalty to go through if you let go of him. So this is why I brought that point up, is because, you know, we have to get our minds right and follow the Most High. And he's just being merciful to us, just showing us, you know, keep following me, keep coming. I'm not going to destroy you right off the bat, as you said, brother, when they asked about the kingdom. How you going to give me the kingdom when your mind ain't right?
Right.
When your soul ain't right? He can't trust you with that type of power, that type of knowledge. It's baby steps. And that's what we all got to learn, baby steps first.
Yeshua, Isaiah chapter 25, and we're going to start this at verse 1.
O Yahweh, you are my Elohim. I will exalt you. I will praise your name, for you have done wonderful things. Your counsels of old are faithfulness and truth. For you have made a city a heap, of a defenced city a ruin, a palace of strangers to be no city that shall ever be built. Therefore shall the strong people glorify you. The city of the terrible nations shall fear you. For you have been a strength to the poor, a strength to the needy in his distress, a refuge from the storm, a shadow from the heat, when the blast of the terrible ones is as a storm against the wall.
All right, so now we know who the strong ones are. Therefore shall you, the strong people, glorify you, and the city of the terrible nations shall fear you. And who are the strong ones? The ones that Yah has been a strength, which is to the poor, to the needy, to the distressed, and being a refuge from those in the storm and a shadow from those in the heat. But these things are when you are carrying yourself in a lawful way during these times of distress, because you're waiting on Yah and you trust that he's going to provide this defense city for you. Go ahead.
Verse 5. You shall bring down the noise of strangers, as the city in a dry place, even the heat with the shadow of a cloud, the branch of the terrible ones shall be brought low. And in this mountain shall Yahweh of hosts make unto all people a feast of fat things, a feast of wines on the lees, of fat things full of marrow, of wines on the lees well refined. And he will destroy in this mountain the face of the covering cast over all people, and the veil that is spread over all nations. He will swallow up death in victory, and my sovereign Yahweh will wipe away tears from off all faces, and the rebuke of his people shall he take away from off all the earth. For Yahweh has spoken it. And it shall be said in that day, Lo, this is our Elohim. We have waited for him, and he will save us. This is Yahweh. We have waited for him. We will be glad and rejoice in his salvation.
Okay, so when he fulfills all that he has promised us, and we say, Lo, this is our Elohim. We have waited for him. He will save us. This is Yahweh. We have waited for him. We will be glad and rejoice in his salvation. You can't say you waited for him if you didn't do the thing that he requires waiting, which is to keep the commandments. You are to keep the commandments and wait on the results, period. Now he's telling you what the results are going to be. The results are going to be these blessings. The ultimate result is life after death. But you can't say you're waiting on him when you're doing everything that you want to do to satisfy those needs that you want right now. Go ahead.
Verse 10. For in this mountain shall the hand of Yahweh rest, and Moab shall be trodden down under him, even as straw is trodden down for the dunghill. And he shall spread forth his hands in the midst of them, as he that swims spreads forth his hands to swim. and he shall bring down their pride together with the spoils of their hands.
All right, so when he's talking about he shall spread forth his hands in the midst of them, as he that swims spread forth his hands. Now, when you swim like this? Your hands wide open? You swim like that? Or do you cup your hands when you swim? So if he's putting his hands in the midst of us, he's gathering us like you gather water, bringing us together. Go ahead.
Verse 12. And the fortress of the high fort of your walls shall he bring down, lay low, and bring to the ground, even to the dust.
All right, let's go to Lamentations chapter 3, which is another few books down. Two books down. Lamentations chapter 3.
Lamentations chapter 3 and verse 1. I am the man. Oh, and Lamentations in Hebrew is Ikah. Ikah.
What is it?
Ikah meaning how. That's what this study Bible is saying. I am the man that has seen affliction by the rod of his wrath. He has led me and brought me into darkness, but not into light. Surely against me is he turned. He turns his hand against me all the day. My flesh and my skin has he made old. He has broken my bones. He has builded against me and compassed me with gall and travail. He has set me in dark places as they that be dead of old. He has hedged me about that I cannot get out. He has made my chain heavy. Also when I cry and shout, he shuts out my prayer. He has enclosed my ways with hewn stone. He has made my paths crooked. He was unto me as a bear lying in wait, and as a lion in secret places. He has turned aside my ways. He has pulled me in pieces. He has made me desolate. He has bent his bow and set me as a mark for the arrow. He has caused the arrows of his quiver to enter into my reins. I was a derision to all my people, and their song all the day. He has filled me with bitterness. He has made me drunken with wormwood. He has also broken my teeth with gravel stones. He has covered me with ashes. And you have removed my soul far off from peace. I forgot prosperity. And I said, my strength and my hope is perished from Yahweh. Remembering my affliction and my misery, the wormwood and the gall, my soul has them still in remembrance and is humbled in me. This I recall to my mind, therefore have I hope.
All right, so he's going through, this is a time where we going into captivity. This is a rough situation, in Babylon. And he's crying out for his people. Not only him, but he's crying out for his people because he's watching the state of his people. That's why he's like the crying prophet, because he's mourning to see his people. And he was from a young child. He was a young prophet, brought all the way up. And despite telling people over and over, we got to do this, we got to change, or this is going to happen, to sit and just watch your people be destroyed. It is a very hurtful process. Just like when we watch the news and we see our people just getting destroyed, all of us, we go back to work on Monday and we just shaking our heads, just all feeling that same thing. So imagine to the level of the city being destroyed. Well, we had our own city. But despite all of that, he still has enough resolve to remember, okay, remember what you're told. All of this was prophesied. Wait on Yah. Go ahead.
Verse 22. It is of Yahweh's mercies that we are not consumed, because his compassions fail not. They are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness. Yahweh is my portion, says my soul. Therefore I will hope in him. Yahweh is good unto them that wait for him, to the soul that seeks him.
So when you understand that concept, that no matter what my current situation or stance is, if I use Yah to be my compass and say, I don't know how I got here. I don't like the state that I'm in, but I'm going to focus on Yah, focus on his son, this word, and follow this narrow path till it leads me somewhere. If you wait on him, he's going to reward you. He's going to give you that which you're looking for, but we have to trust that. But what we'll do is we get in a situation, we wait for a couple minutes, then we see, okay, well, he's not gonna pull me out of this situation. So let my own arm pull me out of this situation. You end up getting yourself in a worser scenario than you were before because we didn't quite grasp what brought us into that situation to begin with. And a lot of us, it's just impatience. I know with me, half of the time it's just being impatient. It's like, yo, I'm gonna give you, I got mansions waiting for you. But you want it right now. So yeah, you got the big old house and it got destroyed because you couldn't be patient. Go ahead.
Verse 26. It is good that a man should both hope and quietly wait for the salvation of Yahweh. It is good for a man that he bear the yoke in his youth. He sits alone and keeps silence because he has borne it upon him. He puts his mouth in the dust, if so be there may be hope. He gives his cheek to him that smites him. He is full with reproach.
And where did we hear that?
Yeshua.
Go ahead.
For Yahweh will not cast off forever, but though he cause grief, yet will he have compassion according to the multitude of his mercies. For he does not afflict willingly or grieve the children of men, to crush under his feet all the prisoners of the earth, to turn aside the right of a man before the face of the Most High, to subvert a man in his cause, Yahweh approves not. Who is he that says, and it comes to pass, when Yahweh commands it not? Out of the mouth of the Most High proceeds not evil and good? Wherefore, why does a living man complain, a man for the punishment of his sins?
So whatever happens to you in your life, Yahweh allowed that to happen. He allowed that situation to arise. Now, you may have put yourself in a position to deserve that or to reap, what you sow. But at the end of the day, he allowed it. So if you want to get the solution to that problem, you got to deal with the person that allowed that to happen. It's the same thing with us. With this captivity that we're in, we can sit here and try to focus on this white man and say, well, we're going to try to get the white man to stop being like the white man. That ain't going to happen. You have to focus, well, who is the person that gave them the power over us? Who's the person that removed the power for us? And is that person wicked? If that person's wicked, then we need to fight that person. But if that person isn't wicked that allowed that to happen, then we need to say, why is this happening to us? And does not this person want to give us all these things? So why don't we go back to doing the things that allows him to give us those things? We limit Yahweh by our disbelief. Go ahead.
Lamentations chapter 3 and verse 40. Let us search and try our ways and turn again to Yahweh.
The whole answer in one verse. Let us search, seek diligently. Try our ways. Say, this is my way. This is what I like to do. This is what my flesh does. This is what the commandments say. Is it aligned or is it two different directions? Go ahead.
Giving thought to your path.
Right.
Verse 41.
And then you realize, wait a minute, all this stuff is happening because I'm trying my ways and I'm going the wrong way. Let me go back Yah's way. Go ahead.
Indeed.
Turn again to Yahweh.
Verse 41. Let us lift up our heart with our hands unto Ah in the heavens.
And that's how you pray. Lift up your heart with your hands unto Elohim in the heavens. Open up your hands. All this pyramid and closing your hands and all that stuff, you're not receiving nothing. Go ahead.
Verse 42. We have transgressed and have rebelled. You have not pardoned. You have covered with anger and persecuted us. You have slain, you have not pitied. You have covered yourself with a cloud that our prayers should not pass through. You have made us as the offscoring and refuse in the midst of the people. All our enemies have opened their mouths against us. Fear and the snare is come upon us, desolation and destruction. Mine eye runs down with rivers of water for the destruction of the daughter of my people. Mine eye trickles down and ceases not without any intermission. Till Yahweh look down and behold from heaven, mine eye affects my heart because of all the daughters of my city.
Now, this is a true shepherd here. He's crying because of what's happening to his people. We always crying because what happened to our bank account. You know, what happened to our girlfriend or whatever the case may be. We crying over this stuff. How are we going to get to the point where we can be effective and pray for our nation and cover our nation if we so wrapped up in our own personal lives? We're supposed to carry each other's burdens. Now, Yah is not going to be mocked. Each man is going to have to carry his own burden. But that doesn't mean that we don't allow ourselves to be burdened by other people that are going through things. But then we like, oh man, every time I talk to him, he's just so negative. He's got all these bad things. Well, maybe you need to hear some of these things and pray for the brother so he can get out of this negativity. Or maybe he needs something positive from you, like, bruh, repent. And maybe this stuff will stop happening to you. But no. We already got enough of our own problems. We don't want to hear nobody else's problems.
Verse 52. My enemies chased me sore like a bird without cause. They have cut off my life in the dungeon and cast a stone upon me. Waters flowed over my head. Then I said, I am cut off. I called upon your name, O Yahweh, out of the low dungeon.
Waters flowed over my head. Then said I am cut off. That's also very symbolic of an immersion. Very similar to what Jonah went through. But he had to realize, okay, I screwed this up. Let me not forsake my mercy with lying vanity. Go ahead.
56. You have heard my voice. Hide not your ear at my breathing, at my cry. You drew near in the day that I called upon you. You said, fear not. O Yahweh, you have pleaded the causes of my soul. You have redeemed my life. O Yahweh, you have seen my wrong. Judge you my cause. You have seen all their vengeance and all their imaginations against me. You have heard their reproach, O Yahweh, and all their imaginations against me.
And when you're a prophet, that you are trying to talk to people and say, listen, man, this is why we're getting destroyed. This is what you need to stop this. We need to change. Yahweh is telling me this is what we need to do. Do this. And you're screaming, you're yelling, you're on the corners, you do it. And then people are trying to kill you for helping them. And then you're watching them get killed for not listening to the help that you're giving. Think about how this is happening to people you love, not strangers, not some other nation that you being a guide to. This is your family. This is your house. Just imagine how disheartening that is. And this is the spirit that all servants have to deal with, because this is what Yahshua had to deal with. So this is the suffering that we have to go through. Go ahead.
62. The lips of those that rose up against me and their device against me all the day. Behold, their sitting down and their rising up. I am their music. Render unto them a recompense, O Yahweh, according to the work of their hands. Give them sorrow of heart, your curse unto them. Persecute and destroy them in anger from the heavens of Yahweh.
All right. Let's go to Tehillim, chapter 25. Psalms, chapter 25. So Yah is good to those that wait on him.
And it definitely seems that the theme is that before your reward, you're going to have to go through that chastisement to bear the wrongs and to look at yourself and see the reflection of what you have to overcome before that mercy of Yah is not obscured in your life.
Right. Because what good is it if there's a fire in the house and you just put the fire out, but then there's still sparks and gasoline leaking? Yeah. It's just going to catch a fire again. So what's the point? What is the point?
Gonna have to address all them shorts and all those faults in the wiring and stuff like that.
But no, we say, nah, everything is straight. You don't see sparks over the top of your head? Bruh, it's leaking gas. Put the gasoline pump back up. You just got it leaking all over the place. Now, we good. That ain't going to stop the spark from catching the fire and blowing up the place. And just because Yahweh can blow it out.
Exactly. And Yah is not an author of confusion. So if your promotion is going to allow people to look and see the trash and the chaos all over the place. God gonna be like, no, we're gonna deal with this
Right.
first. Be humble.
Right.
Be patient. We'll make it over. Understand your own way. Understand that you are fallible, and He'll be fixing up all the imperfections.
Right.
If you allow Him.
And we don't know the day of our visitation.
Exactly.
We don't know when it's the day for us to leave. Whereas Yah's like, listen, you on a time clock. I'm urging you. I'm beating you, pushing you out the fire because your time is coming up. To you, it's 20, 30 years ago. To him, it's like a fraction of a millisecond. So he's like, yo, you need to hurry up because there's things you got to do. There's other servants that are depending on you, waiting on you, but you stuck at this place right here. So that angel not going to come back and be like, well, I tried to tell him, he didn't listen. That angel finna put a sword in your behind. Yeah, well, you said for him to do it, he didn't want to listen, so he died. I'm sorry. What else I'm going to do?
He's holding up the plan.
He's not going to come back to Yahweh and try to report to Yahweh that he's the angel of stop the BS. And you continued with the BS.
Psalms, Tehillim, chapter 25 and verse 1. Upon you, O Yahweh, do I lift up my soul. O my Elohim, I trust in you. Let me not be ashamed. Let not mine enemies triumph over me. Yea, let none that wait on you be ashamed. Let them be ashamed which transgress without cause.
And you have to have that faith that, okay, I'm marking my actions. I'm listening intently for your instructions, and I'm going to walk according to what I believe to the best of my heart is the direction that you want me to walk in. So I'm going to do that. So I know I'm not going to be ashamed. I might be ashamed right now, but you're not going to let this happen because I trust you. Go ahead.
Verse 4. Show me your ways, O Yahweh. Teach me your paths. Lead me in your truth and teach me, for you are the Elohim of my salvation. On you do I wait all the day. Remember, O Yahweh, your tender mercies and your loving kindness, for they have been ever of old. Remember not the sins of my youth, nor my transgressions. According to your mercy, remember you me for your goodness' sake, O Yahweh. Good and upright is Yahweh. Therefore will he teach sinners in the way. The meek will he guide in judgment, and the meek will he teach his way.
All right. So the meek or the humble will he guide in judgment, and the meek will he teach his way, because the proud and the exalted feel like their way is the way. They're fine. So they're not going to take any lessons. When they fall, they're going to use their own hands to pull themselves out of a situation of everything, instead of looking at it and say, Yahweh caused this to happen because of my transgression. Go ahead.
Verse 10. All the paths of Yahweh are mercy and truth unto such as keep his covenant and his testimonies.
So every path that we can go to of Yahweh are mercy and truth if we just keep his covenant and his testimonies.
That's a beautiful one. I'm gonna add that one in the treasure box.
Mm-hmm.
All the paths of Yahweh are mercy and truth unto such as keep his covenant and his testimonies. So if you're keeping his covenant and his testimonies, take heed, have comfort in your heart that he's going to lead you in a merciful and truthful way.
Keep your word.
Mm-hmm.
Keep your word. Keep his word. You make a covenant, keep your covenant. And if you're going to keep a covenant, keep the covenant with the Most High. You can't keep a covenant with another person, any person. If you can't keep the covenant with your Creator, the person who has never done you wrong. A person may do you wrong, it might piss you off. Say something you don't like. You be like, well, I ain't keeping this covenant because I don't like the way she talked. I don't like the way he said that. I'm good. But if you can't keep a covenant with a perfect person, that's the issue. That's why we have to focus first on keeping this covenant with the Most High before we can even try to keep a covenant or make any kind of covenant with anybody else. Because we don't even know how to keep the covenant with the other person until we learn love.
Brother, you opened up a book there, because that brings it back to how can you love Yahweh who you have not seen if you can't love your brother who you have seen. So it's basically just like that same thing. If you could barely keep covenants with the man that's in front of you, how in the world you can keep covenant with a spirit that is going to require more than an imperfect man?
Right.
So we definitely do have to work on interpersonal relationships within family, within home, so that looking at that as part of the grassroots of our covenant and our devotion unto Yah.
Right, right. The single most and easiest way to identify the adversary, the devil, is two things: a lie and confusion. If you're confused about something, there's an adversary in the midst. If there's a lie, there's an adversary in the midst. You get rid of that lie and get rid of the confusion by having faith in doing the right thing. That's how you can push him and don't give him a place to stay. And if we can focus on that in all our relationships, to say, listen, whatever relationship I am with my employer, with my mate, with my friends, with my fellow servants, we're going to focus on this truth, get rid of all lies, and not be vague about how we feel or how we view things. So there's no confusion about, where somebody stands. And if there's a disagreement, we both agree that whatever the answer is going to be according to these scriptures. So let's get into it. And we might have disagreements, but at least there will be nothing personal involved, because I can see that brother is following this to the best that he can see. We just not on the same page right now.
Indeed. Verse 11. For your name's sake, O Yahweh, pardon my iniquity, for it is great. What man is he that fears Yahweh? Him shall he teach in the way that he shall choose. His soul shall dwell at ease, and his seed shall inherit the earth. The secret of Yahweh is with him, with them that fear him, and he will show them his covenant. My eyes are ever toward Yahweh, for he shall pluck my feet out of the net. Turn you unto me, and have mercy upon me, for I am desolate and afflicted. The troubles of my heart are enlarged. Oh, bring you me out of my distress. Look upon my affliction and my pain, and forgive all my sins. Consider my enemies, for they are many, and they hate me with cruel hatred. Oh, keep my soul and deliver me. Let me not be ashamed, for I put my trust in you. Let integrity and uprightness preserve me, for I wait on you. Redeem Yashral, O Elohim, out of all his troubles. Psalms 25.
All right, we just finished reading up Psalms 25. We had some difficulties with Facebook Live. We're back on. Let's move to Romans chapter 8. Romans chapter 8.
Earlier in the week, I was talking to a coworker about universal truth. About what the book does. Because there's a lot of people that read this word and become arrogant and feel like, I'm the authority on this or I'm the authority on that. But little do they know that the qualities and intrinsic nature of Yah is a universal factor. If you do wrong, if you're in the word or out the word, you're gonna get judged for it. Right. What this word does is like an answer sheet, so that whereas someone who has not read the word, they will have to meditate long and hard and go through trial and error and figure out certain stuff. And Yah may have more mercy on that person who doesn't have access. Let's say he doesn't have access to these answers in the answer sheet. So it takes temperance, and that's a quality that the scripture tells us to have. It takes patience, quality the scripture tells us to have. So someone who has not read this word can exercise temperance and patience. They're gonna come to a better understanding of the situations that they're in if they can exercise those things. Just like if you're reading a book on how to do your forms in any type of martial art that you're doing, saying that you have to stand like this, reading it saying, okay, stand like this. You can tell someone and preach it well how to stand like this. But if you're not like getting in front of a mirror and let me see if my actual form lines up with how this book is telling me to do it. If you're not actually doing it, you're going to be worse than the dude that's actually don't have no book, but he's in front of the mirror just trying to figure out, you know, can it work like this? Or someone that's actually hand-to-hand sparring with someone, you know, even if they both have zero understanding, the one that has the answer sheet and has not put it into practice is worse than the person that hasn't looked at it at all, but is actually putting it into practice. So it reminds me of what Yeshua said, is like, search you the scriptures because you think that in them you have eternal life. It's not necessarily in them that you have eternal life, but the fact that it's giving you the answers of how to walk and do it. So it's one thing to read about meditation and read about having temperance and read about patience, but if you're not applying it, you worse than the guy that's actually has no word and knows no God, but is actually embracing these and actually putting them into action.
Because at the end of the day, it's not a test.
No.
You don't get at the door of the kingdom and you fill out, you know, you like
bubble A, B, C.
Ooh, 69. You know, I made it, passed. No, it's application. It's all application. It doesn't matter whether you read it in this book or whether you did it by nature. That's why y'all said, listen, they're a law unto themselves. They doing this righteousness by nature.
Yeah.
You had to be taught this. So y'all don't care whether you a Gentile or whether you are an Israelite. Did you apply these universal laws of righteousness?
Indeed. Truth. Romans chapter 8 and verse 1. There is therefore now no condemnation to them which are in Mashiach Yeshua, who walk not after the flesh, but after the Spirit. For the law of the Spirit of life in Mashiach Yeshua has made me free from the law of sin and death.
So there's no condemnation to those which are in the Mashiach Yeshua, who walk not after the flesh, but after the Spirit. Because once you get immersed, you receive that comforter, that Holy Spirit, which is going to guide you in the way. And when you make the wrong move and you receive chastening, you're going to return back unto that word and you're going to alter your path. So you don't have to worry about anything because you're constantly looking for the Spirit to guide you. So when you make that mistake, there it is. The Spirit going to put you right back on the path.
But can you expound a little more on that? Because a lot of people feel they have the Spirit, you know what I mean? But it tells you that you're going to receive the Spirit if you, get immersed and make that covenant, with Yah, because this is what people don't seem to understand. We're under mercy, we're under grace, and the law states, he was telling let you understand that you need to get baptized, and then if you, tarry, when he was talking to the disciples, if you tarry long enough, you're going to receive the Holy Spirit, you know what I mean, at Pentecost, so forth. But a lot of people always say, well, we got the Spirit. Well, what exactly are they talking about?
Right.
You know what I mean? I mean, what spirit do you have?
A spirit. All right.
It's a spirit, but what spirit do you have? Because this recipe says you have to follow it a certain way.
Right.
How do you get it without following this recipe? Is there another way?
Right.
I don't see it.
Right.
I mean, it's nothing saying that you cannot receive knowledge of the Most High. It's nothing you saying that you can't understand a lot of these passages in Scripture. But he does expound on the mystery of this book, the secrets of this book. I'll give it to my children, the ones who want to follow me, do my will. Then he gives you the hidden treasures of this book. So when you see people talking about, I got the Spirit, or the Spirit spoke to me, what Spirit? How did he speak to you? What did they say? Did you test that word that they told you through the Scriptures? Precept, line upon line? Is it lining up with this word? What is it really telling you?
Right.
That's a little confusing, for a lot of people out there, who says they got the Spirit, and well, what Spirit or do you have?
Right. And you have, there's multiple spirits that all reconcile to the same Spirit. So you can have a brother that has some good intellect and understanding. You look at Apollos. Apollos was doing great works, but he didn't receive the comforter yet. He didn't receive the Holy Spirit. He was still a good brother and doing things. And at the end of the day, if you don't get that immersion, you're not receiving the Spirit that Yeshua received, which is the Spirit of Israel. That Spirit, even Yeshua himself said, suffer it to be so. He knew that he had to go through that. So at the end of the day, if you get a job and you have all these talents and experience, to do the job. Yeah, that might be able to get you to get the job. But when you start the job, they say, okay, you did all that, but you're going to need to go through this training. You need to put on this uniform. And you're not going to say, well, I'm already doing good things. I don't need this uniform to. No, you got to put that uniform on. That is the requirement for the job. So at the end of the day, not that you're completely void of the Spirit where you can't understand this word and do good things and produce some good fruit, but you're not going to produce the amount to meet the quota that the Most High has for you without the tools necessary to do that. And even Yeshua understood that. Even he understood, man, I was debating with the knowledge of this word. I was 12 years old dealing with doctors and lawyers of the law. But I still don't have the required amount of spirit to do this job that is set before us. And that's what we need to do as far as getting this immersion so that we can receive that spirit, whatever it is, that gift, whatever it is that we're to receive for us to do the job that was given to us specifically.
In the Old Testament, we read a lot about Yah giving us one head, one leader. I'll give them one shepherd. And that's because we are part of that body. But imagine we decide, no, I'm smart, I'm righteous all on my own, I'm not going to follow it. It's one thing to have a strong arm, but if that strong arm doesn't do what it's intended to do, it's doing all this stuff. We're driving to work and it's doing all this other stuff. We at work talking to the boss and our arm is all like this and doing. It has to be cast away.
Right.
It doesn't. It's grabbing guns and I'm like, no, don't shoot. It's shooting all. It's doing stuff that is getting in the way. It's not. It's as strong as it is. It's not being obedient. It's not submitting to the order. It has to be cast off. That's what viruses do. It goes into your body and rewires your DNA to produce more of the virus instead of things that are going to be helpful to you. So it's going to kill you in the long run. And Yah's not going to have no cancers, tumors, viruses in the body that's supposed to represent holiness and wholeness.
Right.
Verse 3, Romans chapter 8 and verse 3. For what the law could not do in that it was weak through the flesh, Yahweh sending his own son in the likeness of sinful flesh, and for sin condemned sin in the flesh, that the righteousness of the law might be fulfilled in us who walk not after the flesh but after the Spirit. For they that are after the flesh do mind the things of the flesh, but they that are after the Spirit the things of the Spirit. For to be carnally minded is death, but to be spiritually minded is life and peace. Because the carnal mind is enmity against Elohim, for it is not subject to the law of Elohim, neither indeed can be. So then, they that are in the flesh cannot please Elohim, but you are not in the flesh, but in the Spirit, if so be that the Spirit of Elohim dwells in you. Now, if any man have not the Spirit of Mashiach, he is none of his. But if Mashiach be in you, the body is dead because of sin. But the Spirit is life because of righteousness. But if the Spirit of him that raised up Yeshua from the dead dwell in you, he that raised up Mashiach from the dead shall also quicken your mortal bodies by his Spirit that dwells in you. Therefore, brethren, we are debtors, not to the flesh, to live after the flesh. For if you live after the flesh, you shall die. But if you through the Spirit do mortify the deeds of the body, you shall live. For as many as are led by the Spirit of Elohim, they are the sons of Elohim. For you have not received the spirit of bondage again to fear, but you have received the Spirit of adoption, whereby we cry, Abba, Father.
So part of that being led by the Spirit of Elohim, which in turn makes you a son or daughter of Elohim, you have to learn how to follow the order. And the order is when you're led by somebody, you wait for that person to lead you. Then you follow. If you're leading yourself, then you go do whatever you feel like you want to do. But the ways that he leads us, because we are a sottish people, 9 times out of 10, lawful, unlawful. Because we are just so stupid that he makes it just that simple. To get us to the point of that 1% when we get a little bit better, and now both things are lawful, but what's expedient?
Indeed.
What's going to benefit? One is going to benefit my nation, the other one's going to benefit me. But before we can even get to that level, he keeps it real simple, lawful or unlawful. But we keep falling at that.
What verse did we?
We're at 15.
Verse 15. For that which I do, I allow not.
No, you're at Romans 8 and verse 15.
Okay, cool. Here we go. For you have not received the spirit of bondage again to fear, but you have received the spirit of adoption, whereby we cry, Abba, Father. The Spirit itself bears witness with our spirit that we are the children of Elohim. And if children, then heirs, heirs of Yahweh, and joint heirs with Mashiach, if so be that we suffer with him, that we may be also glorified together. For I reckon that the sufferings of this present time are not worthy to be compared with the glory which shall be revealed in us. For the earnest expectation of the creature waits for the manifestation of the sons of Elohim. For the creature was made subject to vanity, not willingly, but by reason of him who has subjected the same in hope, because the creature itself also shall be delivered from the bondage of corruption into the glorious liberty of the children of Elohim. For we know that the whole creation groans and travails in pain together until now. And not only they, but ourselves also, which have the first fruits of the Spirit, even we ourselves groan within ourselves, waiting for the adoption, to wit, the redemption of our body. For we are saved by hope. But hope that is seen is not hope. For what a man sees, why does he yet hope for? But if we hope for that we see not, then do we with patience wait for it. Likewise, the Spirit also helps our infirmities, for we know not what we should pray for as we ought, but the Spirit itself makes intercession for us with groanings which cannot be uttered. And he that searches the hearts knows what is in the mind of the Spirit, because he makes intercession for the saints according to the will of Elohim. And we know that all things work together for the good of them that love Elohim, to them who are called according to his purpose. For whom he did foreknow, he also did predestinate to be conformed to the image of his Son, that he might be the firstborn among many brethren.
So if we know that all things work together for the good of them that love Elohim, to them who are called according to his purpose. So if we understand that, and we are not changing the way that we think, as far as I'm trying to operate according to Yah's purpose, according to what he has for me to do, or not so much that our life doesn't belong to us. Yeah, he wants us to seek and find happiness in our own life, but we have to consider what our main objective is to fulfill the purpose of Elohim. And if we carry ourselves in a state that is constantly getting in problems, then he's going to say, all right, well, I'm going to use you for the purpose of sharpening another servant. Go ahead.
We're at verse 29.
Mm-hmm.
For whom he did foreknow, he also did predestinate to be conformed to the image of his Son, that he might be the firstborn among many brethren. Moreover, whom he did predestinate, them he also called. And whom he called, them he also justified. And whom he justified, them he also glorified. What shall we then say to these things? If Elohim be for us, who can be against us? He that spared not his own Son, but delivered him up for us all, how shall he not with him also freely give us all things? Who shall lay anything to the charge of Yahweh's elect? It is Elohim that justifies. Who is he that condemns? It is Mashiach that died, yea, rather that is risen again, who is even at the right hand of Elohim, who also makes intercession for us. Who shall separate us from the love of Mashiach? Shall tribulation or distress or persecution or famine or nakedness or peril or sword? As it is written, for your sake we are killed all the day long. We are counted as sheep for the slaughter. Nay, in all things we are more than conquerors through him that loved us. For I am persuaded that neither death, nor life, nor angels, nor principalities, nor powers, nor things present, nor things to come, nor height, nor depth, nor any other creature shall be able to separate us from the love of Elohim, which is in Mashiach Yahshua, our Master.
All right. Let's go to Psalms, Tehillim, chapter 33.
Brother, here, you see the rhetoric talking about being predestinated and those who Yah did foreknow, and talking about the elect. So what do you think are the characteristics of people who are not the elect and not predestined for this?
Those that are not chastened, that are allowed to just do whatever they want to do and everything seems all right for them. That's one of the characteristics. Another characteristic is just a lack of spirituality, where they can't. Everything is carnal. There is no spirituality. There is no Elohim. You know, people of those standards, even when Yah does chasten them, they can't see the spirituality out of it. Now, even with all that, that's not for us to judge, to say that can't happen, because we don't know. They can go around the best teachers in the world. They can't give them the spirit. They can go around a guy that just found out he Israel, and that guy could talk to him, and all of a sudden the spirit goes to him. You know, it's not for us to make those decisions, but it's for us, none of us, to believe that we that predestinate. Mm-hmm. Because you start believing you the predestinate, you feeling like something is good about you. That's not the case. There's nothing good about you. The only thing good about you is that spirit that comes from above. And that's a gift and a curse. It's a gift because you have that spirit from above, so you know the things that you're supposed to do and how to do it. But that's just more things for you to fall at, more ways to fall. So that's to keep you humble, because you learn 10 other things that you're supposed to be doing that you weren't doing. Now you got to fight with those 10 other things. What would you say required is the characteristics of non-predestinate?
It's very interesting, because, you know, we all know that you don't just get comfortable like, all right, I'm in the kingdom, you know. Like, that's one of the worst mistakes you can make. We all working out our faith with fear and trembling. And I think it's one of the mysteries of Elohim, you know, one of those unsearchable things that he hasn't handed to us to know. Like, he wants us to kind of be on that, hey, I'm watching you, you know, almost on edge. But if we're going to be at peace, let it be because you trust in Yah, not at peace because you think you're predestined, you know, but at peace because I want to, like, it's like you're on a basketball team. And or you're in high school, you want to get drafted like one of them college basketball teams, and the scouts are out and stuff. You don't just say, look, I'm already going to Duke. Like, right. No, it don't work like that. You do your best to show, like, yeah, you could feel like you have some skills because you've been working on it. You can't rob yourself of just that glory that, look, I've been doing my best to make it here. So that would kind of keep you comfortable. Like, all right, you know, they've never played ball, so they almost don't qualify unless something magical happens. But even though, you know, you're going into this rank, you in this set aside portion, you don't know if you're going to be chosen. So you do your best to, when the scouters show up, even if they're not going to show up to one of your games, somebody's recording it's going to make it to those who are looking, who don't know, they don't watch football, they don't watch track, they watch basketball. They look for this type of things. The angels look into these things. So you have a comfort that, okay, let me trust the training that the coach put me through. Mm-hmm. Let me not rob myself of the comfort of knowing that I've gotten good training, good, you know, guidance and whatever, and this is the time to put it all on the court. Right. So it's one of those mysterious things. Like, we don't know, do we know? But I think is a beautiful thing where you know that there's other people trying to get on this team, and you can like look and see like, oh, he been practicing. I like that. You know what? We all trying to get in. So let me join forces and, you know, help me get as good as that such and such, as good as those, because everyone wants to be good in the kingdom. Right.
And to feed on that basketball analogy, you know, if your job is to, you 7'3" and your job is to get rebounds, and you thinking you good because you got nice handles, you know, so but you're not going to be the point guard. Nah. You gonna stand under there and gain rebounds and position and you know post up. And the problem is, we think because we have some talent in something, like, well, I can really read these scriptures and divide the scriptures and this, that, other, but you're not garnering the rebounds. You're supposed to be rebounding souls here. But you good because you can sit there and you can argue with people on the corner and make nice documentaries. And it's that characteristic of when you feel I'm predestined, I'm good. That's almost the characteristic of somebody who's not predestined. Yeah. When you have already placed yourself, you have judged yourself as righteous.
Above Yah's
and that's a blindness, because you just completely threw out all the things in the past. Another thing is when you think that you're going to get salvation because of somebody else, because of your husband or because of your wife, because of your teacher, because of your congregation, you feeling like you in there. And that's what you see with these cults. Well, nobody else is getting in but us, you know, or you know, or a wife that feel like she going to get into the kingdom because of her husband. That don't work that way. He's your covering here on earth. But once y'all dead, that's it. Y'all's part.
Look at the works.
That's why I say until death do we part. Because when y'all death, you're part. You're going to have to face the judgment on your own. So he can cover you here on this earth. And we see that a lot in our society where they be like, well, I'm just going to do this. I'm just going to do that. And they take that saved through childbirth thing a little too far. Different times. Go ahead, Elder.
All that's real good, you know, good examples, you know, but that's also another one. People say, once saved, always saved, you know. Like they say, I'm saved, you know, I'm blessed and highly favored, and all that type of statements that they always make, you know, and don't realize that you haven't even begun to start.
Right.
You know, you don't even know what it means to start. You've been running with all these different phrases that have been thrown at you and sounds good, you know, and put in songs and all this type of things. But yet, do you understand what that truly means? You know, I mean, even Yeshua said, I kept all the ones that you gave me, Father, except the son of perdition, Judas Iscariot. Now, think about it. The ones that was predestinated is the ones that was given to Yeshua when he walked along that beach. You know what I mean? All the disciples came to him. When he touched them, when he called them, they came. They didn't waste no time. They ran to him. They dropped what they were doing and ran to him. Did they know they were predestinated? No, they didn't know. Yeshua did what his father said, and he called them, and they came running. But the ones that came along, like Judas Iscariot, you know what I mean? What was running through his mind? Did he think he can use the power of the Messiah from the Father to do his will? Well, obviously, that's what a lot of people think today. You know, that I'm fine, I'm good. Like that brother who was doing all those miracles, and Yeshua turned around and said, like, I know you're not. Get away from your work of iniquity. You know, even though the people got blessed for it, but yet he didn't. You know, so, you know, we have to do what Saul said, to run the race, fight the good fight. You understand? He continued in that struggle until the end. And every day he watched himself. Every day, you know, he fought his flesh to do the will of the Most High. Until that day, well, it's time for his rest. Then he will be judged by the deeds and how much treasure he stored up in heaven. You know, when it's burned and the dross falls away, and then the purity of it shows. So these are the things we need to be thinking about. To continue to fight the fight, to do Yahweh's will, to keep his commandments, statutes, you know, and hopefully one day we will enter the kingdom. But that's the only people I can tell you that's so-called predestined is the ones we read right here underneath Yeshua in the New Testament when he was called to train them to teach the world, to teach the children of Yasharah.
In the scriptures, there were few examples of people that like got that assurance, like, no, you gonna make it in. Like Daniel, he told Daniel, no, so you will sleep with your fathers, and you gonna stand on your lot at the end of days. And was it Barabbas or one of the thieves that was crucified?
No, it wasn't Barabbas. Barabbas the one they freed.
Oh yeah, the other one that was on the cross.
Tomorrow you'll see paradise.
You'll see.
Yes.
And then he didn't even get to enjoy it on the earth very long. I was like, all right, cool, we gonna die.
You had to be tortured next to Yahshua. Now, if you want to put you know, your salvation based on whether or not you're gonna be tortured next to the Mashiach, you know,
I'll be having sweat like, man, we gonna get into the kingdom, but I'm about to die. You know, I'll be sweating just like he was, like, oh man, I'm gonna have to go through this. But some people, you know, face their beheadings, afflictions, or whatever they're gonna go through with honor and pride, and really embolden other saints who may or may not be predestined, but embolden other people to go and take that step.
Like Stephen, you know, got stoned to death. You know, like people like that. He was predestined. You got to be predestined if you're gonna be like, forgive them. They don't know what they mean. You know, forgive them. Like, man, you stoning me. Man, I'm cursing every. pointing at y'all, man.
I remember
catch
you,
a
I
rock,
remember
I'm gonna
you.
throw it back at you and stuff. This dude took it. Mm-hmm. That's a whole different spirit on these type of people. So compare yourself to those type of characters. Mm-hmm. The 7 sons that got chopped up in Maccabees, and then the mother was like, be strong, and we getting chopped up because of what we did, our nation did. That's a whole nother manner of spirit, because your flesh doesn't operate like that way. No. Even Yahshua showed you the flesh operates. Well, if this cup can remove from me, I know you sent me down here, but if there's any other way, that's the flesh talking. That's right. So to be in that predestinate, I wouldn't, that's like saying, you predestined it to be the king of Yasharal, like King David, thinking you gonna sleep with somebody's wife and kill the husband and think that the prophet gonna come to you and be like, well, no, Yahweh said you gonna be all right. Nah.
Let's work out our salvation with fear and trembling. That's right. Like the rest of the world.
Right. Tehillim, Psalms chapter 33.
Rejoice in Yahweh, O you righteous, for praise is comely for the upright. Praise Yahweh with harp, sing unto him with the psaltery and an instrument of 10 strings.
So that's what we supposed to be singing. We supposed to be singing that. Go ahead.
Sing unto him with a new song. Play skillfully with a loud noise.
So this is supposed to be a new song. That means we're not supposed to be remixing these songs all the time. It's supposed to be a new song. Go ahead.
For the word of Yahweh is right, and all his works are done in truth. He loves righteousness and judgment. The earth is full of the goodness of Yahweh. By the word of Yahweh were the heavens made, and all the host of them by the breath of his mouth. He gathers the waters of the sea together as a heap. He lays up the depths in storehouses. Let all the earth fear Yahweh. Let all the inhabitants of the world stand in awe of him. For he spoke and it was done. He commanded and it stood fast. Yahweh brings the counsel of the heathen to naught. He makes the devices of the people of none effect. The counsel of Yahweh stands forever, the thoughts of his heart to all generations. Blessed is the nation whose Elohim is Yahweh, and the people whom he has chosen for his own inheritance. Yahweh looks from heaven. He beholds all the sons of men. From the place of his habitation, he looks upon all the inhabitants of the earth. He fashions their hearts alike. He considers all their works. There is no king saved by the multitude of a host. A mighty man is not delivered by much strength. A horse is a vain thing for safety. Neither shall he deliver any by his great strength. Behold, the eye of Yahweh is upon them that fear him, upon them that hope in his mercy, to deliver their soul from death and to keep them alive in famine. Our soul waits for Yahweh. He is our help and our shield. For our heart shall rejoice in him, because we have trusted in his holy name. Let your mercy, O Yahweh, be upon us according as we hope in you.
All right, so eventually, just like every great fighter, every athlete that's fast, the fastest athletes in the world, you are eventually going to come against somebody who's better than you, who's going to beat you. So in understanding that and being humble enough to know that, the only way that you can guarantee that you're going to always get the victory is to put your trust and your hope in Yahweh. Let him fight your battles. Stop depending on your own ability to do things. Now, you have that ability for a reason. One of the most falsely used fake verses in the Bible is God helps those that help themselves. That's not in here.
When it says wait and be still.
He helps those who help other people. But at the same time, is trusting in Yah. You are to do your own work. A man doesn't work, he doesn't eat. That is true. But at the end of the day, your mind and your faith should always be in he is going to deliver it. Even if he's going to give me the strength to do it myself, committing your thoughts, committing your works unto Yahweh is so that your thoughts can be established. So this is what the upright man does. He's waiting. His soul is waiting for Yahweh and understanding that he's his help and his shield. All right, let's go to Let's go to 1 Samuel chapter 13. We're going to see about Saul, the first king, how he refused to wait and the consequences of that. 1 Samuel chapter 13.
First Samuel chapter 13 and verse 1. Saul reigned 1 year, and when he had reigned 2 years over Yasharal, Saul chose him 3,000 men of Yasharal, whereof 2,000 were with Saul in Michmash and in Mount Bethel, and 1,000 were with Jonathan in Gibeah of Benjamin, and the rest of the people he had sent every man to his tent. And Jonathan smote the garrison of the Philistines that was in Geba, and the Philistines heard of it. And Saul blew the trumpet throughout all the land, saying, Let the Hebrews hear. And all Yasharal heard say that Saul had smitten the garrison of the Philistines, and that Yasharal also had an abomination with the Philistines. And the people were called together after Saul to Gilgal. And the Philistines gathered themselves together to fight with Yasharal, 30,000 chariots and 6,000 horsemen, and people as the sand which is on the sea shore in multitude. And they came up and pitched in Michmash eastward from Bethaven. When the men of Yasharal saw that they were in a strait, for the people were distressed, then the people did hide themselves in caves and in thickets and in rocks and in high places and in pits. And some of the Hebrews went over Jordan to the land of Gad and Gilead. As for Saul, he was yet in Gilgal, and all the people followed him trembling. And he tarried 7 days according to the set time that Samuel had appointed. But Samuel came not to Gilgal, and the people were scattered from him. And Saul said, Bring here a burnt offering to me, and peace offerings. And he offered the burnt offering. And it came to pass that as soon as he had made an end of offering the burnt offering, behold, Samuel came, and Saul went out to meet him, that he might salute him.
All right, so Samuel is coming to do this sacrifice. But Saul said, you know what, you didn't show up. You said you were going to be here at a certain time, so you didn't show up. So he took it in his own hands to do a burnt offering. Now, this was not his job. This is not what he was given to do. There's a reason why there's a priest, there's a king, and then there's prophets, and how they're separated. And even within the priests, you have the sons of Aaron, which are the Levites, and you have the regular Levites. So this is a prime example of a leader who is stepping out of his role when he should have been waiting. He should have been praying. And before he even went to go do this, and just say that he waited and nothing happened, Samuel died or whatever, where is it Saul went to his knees, then he prayed to Yahweh, and he said, hey, Yahweh, what do you want me to do? No, I'm taking this into my own hands, because he doesn't want to be in a position of not in control. Go ahead.
Verse 11. And Samuel said, What have you done? And Saul said, Because I saw that the people were scattered from me, and that you came not within the days appointed, that the Philistines gathered themselves together at Michmash. Therefore, said I, the Philistines will come down now upon me to Gilgal, and I have not made supplication unto Yahweh. I forced myself, therefore, and offered a burnt offering. And Samuel said to Saul, You have done foolishly. You have not kept the commandment of Yahweh your Elohim, which he commanded you. For now would Yahweh have established your kingdom upon Yasharal forever.
So it's never going to benefit you in a situation that Yah has to deliver you out of it by saying, well, I'm going to transgress Yahweh's commandment so it can be well with me. That is the stupidest strategy you can possibly get, being an Israelite. Now, that might work for the other nations, But that's not going to work for us. That's basically calling Yahweh a liar and calling Yeshua a liar. The word is just a lie. It's going to be well with me to do wickedness. Go ahead.
Verse 14. But now your kingdom shall not continue. Yahweh has sought him a man after his own heart, and Yahweh has commanded him to be captain over his people, because you have not kept that which Yahweh commanded you.
Caused him to lose his throne, all because he would not wait on Yah. Now, there you have that whole predestinate thing and all that, because Yahweh told him from the get-go that this is your king finna be wicked. Mm-hmm. But he had an opportunity. He had an opportunity to wait on Yah, but Yahweh purposely had Shemuel come right after all this happened. Because he can't say, well, I didn't have a chance to be righteous. No, you had a chance. You were a king. You had a chance. It was in your power to do all these things. You chose to do that. Now, it be predestinate because Yahweh knows what's in your heart. He knows those faults that you have in your heart, and that you don't have faith to the point where you'll catch Saul saying, well, pray to your Elohim. Your Elohim? Well, we got different Elohims here. Yahweh can see all that in your heart. You're not going to hide that from him.
Mm-hmm. Verse 15. Mm-hmm. And Samuel arose and got him up from Gilgal unto Gibeah of Benjamin. And Saul numbered the people that were present with him, about 600 men. And Saul and Jonathan his son, and the people that were present with them, abode in Gibeah of Benjamin. But the Philistines encamped in Michmash. And the spoilers came out of the camp of the Philistines in 3 companies. One company turned unto the way that leads to Ophrah, unto the land of Shual. And another company turned to the way of Betharon. And another company turned to the way of the border that looks to the valley of Zeboim, toward the wilderness. Now there was no smith found throughout all the land of Yasharal, for the Philistines said, lest the Hebrews make them swords or spears. But all the Yasharali went down to the Philistines to sharpen every man his share, and his coulter, and his axe, and his mattock.
Now you notice you'll see Hebrews, Yasharali or Israelites, Hebrews, Israelites. You never, ever see them say, but all the Hebrew Israelites came together. Keep that in mind. There's a reason they have made a religion out of this, and that religion is called Hebrew Israelite. That is a religion. If you didn't get that from this book together, then that's made up. And that's what's also documented as a hate group. They've added a third thing to that and said a black Hebrew Israelite. Go ahead.
Verse 21. Yet they had a file for the mattocks and for the coulters and for the forks and for the axes and to sharpen the goad. So it came to pass in the day of battle that there was neither sword nor spear found in the hand of any of the people which were with Saul and Jonathan, but with Saul and with Jonathan his son was there found. And the garrison of the Philistines went out to the passes of Michmash.
So literally the space of maybe a couple hours for him to do his sacrifice and all that, if he could have waited just a little bit beyond that, caused him to lose his kingdom, lose the leadership, the royal throne. And literally in our lives, it's the same thing. You can see it all the time, where you're driving a car, barely missing. Wow, if I'd have been 1 second forward, I could have been dead. Mm-hmm. Well, we have to understand that with the decisions that we make regarding waiting on Yah, that literally a millisecond, a fraction, a day, or whatever, which is nothing to Yah as far as timeline, could literally be the difference between your kingdom and losing your kingdom. Let's go to Yeshayah chapter 64, Isaiah chapter 64. Yah already knows what you're going to do. He's waiting for you to see it.
Even those who are destined for perdition, he knows.
Mm-hmm. Because he'll say, you know what? This person right here, like he knew Esau and Yaakov from the womb. He knew which one was going to be wicked from the womb. Because he says, does not I make good and evil? Do not I make light and dark?
Isaiah chapter 64 and verse 1. Oh, that you would rend the heavens, that you would come down, that the mountains might flow down at your presence. As when the melting fire burns, the fire causes the waters to boil, to make your name known to your adversaries, that the nations may tremble at your presence. When you did terrible things which we looked not for, you came down. The mountains flowed down at your presence. For since the beginning of the world, men have not heard nor perceived by ear, neither has an eye seen, O Elohim, besides you, what he has prepared for him that waits for him.
So even with all this description that we have, all these prophecies, all the great things we've seen in this kingdom, nobody has heard nor perceived by the ear nor seen, besides Elohim, this greatness that he has prepared for us. But it's for those that wait for him. Because those that wait for instruction are showing Yah that I want your will, not just my will. I'm going to let you know what my will is through prayer. I'm going to tell you what I want. But at the end of the day, when it comes to action, I'm going to operate based upon what you want from me. And how I make sure that to the best of my ability is I'm going to wait for you. Wait for you. And the waiting aspect is, I don't know which quite way to walk. I need for you to identify what the narrow path is. And like I said, just from my experience and what I've read, 9 times out of 10, it's going to come down to lawful and unlawful. Just like with Saul. What do I do? All these enemies are against me. The prophet was supposed to be here. He's not here. Wait. Or transgress the commandment. He chose to transgress the commandment. And when we do the same thing, we get the same outcome.
You know, brother, that's a common theme among people who don't trust in Yah, or whose faith in Yah is lacking. They end up being more reactive to their environment because they don't have the faith or even the understanding that Yah is able to change the situation where they already are. You'll see it in the workplace where, depending on how somebody else act, the workplace is already a strict, a very stressing environment. So people are going to do whatever it takes to fulfill their own will. And that means sometimes they're going to encroach on others who may not be on their level. So people a lot of times receiving pressure, and you could know from the responses of those who are receiving that pressure who trusts in Yah and who doesn't, who has some level of faith and who doesn't. Those who don't, whenever they come to some oppression, they are extremely reactive. And it's almost in a desperate sense, like, man, if I don't do something, if I don't react, if I don't do something, I'm gonna die. That's how they behave. Whereas someone who trusts be like, all right, they're gonna treat me this way, but it's gonna come back on them. You have that trust, you have that faith, so you respond from a point of view that Yah will plead my cause, and I don't have to necessarily, act just as wicked as a person that's oppressing me for the sake of finding my justification. My justification will come from the Most High.
Right. Yeshayah chapter 64, we're at verse 5.
You meet him that rejoices and works righteousness, those that remember you in your ways. Behold, you are wroth, for we have sinned. In those is continuance, and we shall be saved. But we are all as an unclean thing, and all our righteousnesses are as filthy rags. And we all do fade as a leaf, and our iniquities, like the wind, have taken us away. And there is none that calls upon your name, that stirs up himself to take hold of you. For you have hid your face from us, and have consumed us because of our iniquities. But now, O Yahweh, you are our Father. We are the clay, and you are potter, and we all are the work of your hand.
And you have to understand that. You have to understand that concept that there's a creator that created us for a purpose. When something is made, I just made something. even if it's made just for artwork, just to be beautiful, it's still made for a purpose. And the individual that just does not trust Yah is because he doesn't know Yah. Mm-hmm. If you knew, back to that statement, for since the beginning of the world, men have not heard nor perceived by ear, neither has eye seen, O Elohim, besides you, what you have prepared for him that waits for him. If you understood the character, the Shem of the Most High, his mercy, and how much favor he puts on his children, you would have a little bit more trust or faith for him. When somebody's showing you that they're wicked, that, or like the adversary of the devil, he's showing you he's a liar. I don't trust nothing he has to say. But you make Yahweh into that kind of position where you're saying that he is so wicked that you can't trust him. When it's you're the untrustworthy person. And that's from a lack of understanding, of not knowing the greatness of the Most High, of comparing him to the God of fortune, that you just do what he's just going to give you everything. That's what was really good. It's just getting all this money and getting all this wealth. That's what's great. That's a lack of understanding. That because he loves you so much, that even though he knows that you're going to be crying and you're going to be hurt, he's going to take something from you for your own good. And that's what a good parent does. And my father used to try to explain that to me when I was a kid. Like, I'm taking this stuff away from you. I'm whooping you for a reason. It's easy for me not to say nothing to you and just let you do what you want to do. That's the easy thing. But I don't want to see you hurt yourself. I don't want to see you grow up into be a man that has to be disciplined by society.
Indeed. Verse 9. Be not wroth very sore, O Yahweh, neither remember iniquity forever. Behold, see, we beseech you, we are all your people. Your holy cities are a wilderness. Zion is a wilderness. Jerusalem a desolation. Our holy and our beautiful house, where our fathers praised you, is burned up with fire, and all our pleasant things are laid waste. Will you refrain yourself for these things, O Yahweh? Will you hold your peace and afflict us very sore?
All right. Let's move on. Let's go to Lucas chapter 21 for the conclusion. Lucas chapter 21. Luke. Luke chapter 21, and we're going to start this at verse 1.
And he looked up and saw the rich men casting their gifts into the treasury. And he saw also a certain poor widow casting in there 2 mites. And he said, Of a truth, I say unto you, that this poor widow has cast in more than they all. For all these have of their abundance cast into the offerings of Elohim, but she of her penury has cast in all the living that she had.
So she has to trust the Most High, that, hey, this is all that I have, but I know that you can change that at any moment and take care of me. You can provide me with food, covering, and shelter and all that. So she's showing her faith by giving all that she has. Go ahead.
And as some spoke of the temple, how it was adorned with goodly stones and gifts, he said, As for these things which you behold, the days will come in which there shall not be left one stone upon another that shall not be thrown down. And they asked him, saying, Master, but when shall these things be? And what sign will there be when these things shall come to pass? And he said, Take heed that you be not deceived, for many shall come in my name, saying, I am the Mashiach, and the time draws near. Go you not therefore after them. But when you shall hear of wars and commotions, be not terrified, for these things must first come to pass, but the end is not by and by. Then said he unto them, Nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. And great earthquakes shall be in diverse places, and famines and pestilences and fearful sights and great signs shall there be from heaven. But before all these they shall lay their hands on you and persecute you, delivering you up to the synagogues and into prisons, being brought before kings and rulers for my name's sake. And it shall turn to you for a testimony. Settle it therefore in your hearts not to meditate before what you shall answer. For I will give you a mouth and wisdom which all your adversaries shall not be able to gainsay nor resist. And you shall be betrayed both by parents and brethren and kinsfolks and friends, and some of you shall they cause to be put to death. And you shall be hated of all men for my name's sake.
And being put to death, I always took that as, you're going to be, they're going to turn you in and they're going to, put you to death penalty. But also, where I see that it could also be put to death is when they're going to, because of your friends and your kinsfolk and all this, you're going to turn away from the word because you're like, no, these are my friends, this is my family. And in that moment, you're being put to death because you're turning away from the truth in order to put the gifts, because all these things are gifts, family and friends and loved ones are gifts, over the gift giver, over the Most High. And he's going to give us the instructions of how to deal with that. Go ahead.
Verse 18. But there shall not a hair of your head perish. In your patience possess you your souls.
All right, so your life. In your patience possess you your life. So we want to look at that word for patience because it's a little bit more than just being patient. If you look at the Greek word that was used there, it's hupomone, which is G5281, and it's spelled Hupomone, hupomone, and that's from G5278, which is cheerful or hopeful endurance, constancy, enduring, patience, patient continuance, waiting. So it's not only just waiting on something, but it's also enduring something. You have to endure through it. He said, he who endures is fit for the kingdom. He who endures unto the end. So part of this waiting process and being patient is also the endurance process, enduring through all the things that we go through in our lives and being patient for him to deliver us in that situation. And the hardest thing to do is when you have the power to deliver your own self, but you are being patient for Yah, or whether or not you should do that thing.
Verse 20. And when you shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies, then know that the desolation thereof is near. Then let them which are in Judea flee to the mountains, and let them which are in the midst of it depart out, and let not them that are in the countries enter thereinto. For these be the days of vengeance, that all things which are written may be fulfilled. But woe unto them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days, for there shall be great distress in the land, and wrath upon this people. And they shall fall by the edge of the sword, and shall be led away captive into all nations, and Jerusalem shall be trodden down with the Gentiles until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled. And there shall be signs in the sun, and in the moon, and in the stars, and upon the earth distress of nations with perplexity, the sea and the waves roaring, men's hearts failing them for fear, and for looking after those things which are coming on the earth, for the powers of heaven shall be shaken. And then shall they see the Son of Man coming in a cloud with power and great glory. And when these things begin to come to pass, then look up and lift up your heads, for your redemption draws near.
Now they say, well, how can everybody at the same time see this? And that goes also back to what we were discussing earlier about the whole flat earth thing, which I don't argue with people, but it makes sense. Because how else would he be able to come down and everybody see? If you're at the bottom of the globe, you're not going to see if he's coming this way, or if he's coming this way, you're not going to see there. But also another way you're going to see, you will see when there's 144,000 angels coming with him, you're going to see that coming out the cloud. That's a lot of folks coming with flaming swords. Go ahead.
Verse 29. And he spoke to them as a parable. Behold, the fig tree and all the trees. When they now shoot forth, you see and know of your own selves that summer is now near at hand. So likewise you, when you see things come to pass, you know that the kingdom of Yahweh is at hand. Verily I say unto you, this generation shall not pass away till all be fulfilled. Heaven and earth shall pass away, but my words shall not pass away.
So that lets you know we're still in that generation. We're still in that last day. Go ahead.
And take heed to yourselves, that at any time your hearts be overcharged with surfeiting and drunkenness and cares of this life, and so that day come upon you unawares.
So this is what the adversary will do. He will use the lust of your flesh, and he will also use the flesh's tendency to escape pain and uncomfortability and affliction, and use all that to draw your attention to these things that are cares of this life, that are normal, expected things for us to care about. And it's not that you don't address those things. You just don't allow the cares of your life, the issues that you're going on in your life, to cause you not to do your job or cause you to walk away from these commandments. And that's usually the ransom for sin for most people. Is all you got to do is afflict them a little bit, and they throw the commandments out the window. Go ahead.
Verse 36. Watch you there.
35.
Oh, verse 35. For as a snare shall it come on all them that dwell on the face of the whole earth. Watch you therefore, and pray always, that you may be accounted worthy to escape all these things that shall come to pass, and to stand before the Son of Man. And in the daytime he was teaching in the temple, and at night he went out and abode in the mount that is called the Mount of Olives. And all the people came early in the morning to him in the temple for to hear him.
All right. So that's all we're going to do today. We just want to keep in mind, again, one of those precepts that we have to understand, that, you know, it could be a fraction of a millisecond. It could be 1 day, 1 hour that caused you to lose your salvation because you didn't want to wait. So we have to get in a position of not putting the cart before the horse. Get out of that God is my co-pilot thing. He's the pilot. You the co-pilot of anything. So if we can change our minds to understand that, okay, we have free will, but we're going to use that free will to allow the Most High time to show us what his will is and where he wants to walk, then those of us, we continually do that, then we give an opportunity for Yah to give glory on this earth, and for us to be examples to other servants to see, oh, look, it works. We can receive blessings by living this way, but none of us will be patient and faithful long enough to establish a track record of this so that it could be something that the rest of our brothers and sisters can see. So somebody has to do that. Somebody has to do that in marriage. Somebody has to do that in ministry. And somebody has to do that in a business stance, so that we can have those righteous examples instead of always having to read about it in the book. So that's all we're going to do today. Any last questions or comments before we close in prayer? All right. All brothers remove their head coverings. All sisters pray with their heads covered. And we face the east towards Jerusalem. Abba Father, Yahweh, Elohim, the Allah of Abraham, Yashak, and Yaakov. Covenant Father, Elohim of Yahshua, we thank you, Yah, once again for giving us the opportunity to come together, Yah, on your Shabbat, Yahweh. We thank you for the health that you have given us, Yahweh, for we understand that it is a mercy, Yahweh, that you allow us to keep a day of peace in this captivity, Yah. For there's so many laws and evil things in place to stop us, Yah, to the point where they make it illegal for us to gather as an assembly, to be what they call a church. But you have put us under the radar, Yah. You've allowed us to have enough visibility where those that seek you can find you through the teachings, as well as keeping us where we're not so large, where we'll be attacked by the government and 501c3 and all those different things that are put in place to stifle your word. So we're thankful, Yahweh. So Yahweh, as we come before you, we ask if you would find any righteousness in us through your son Yahshua and his spirit, Yahshua, that resides with us. We ask that you please forgive us of our sins and trespasses, Yah. Please, especially those presumptuous ones, Yahweh, and humble us, Yahweh. We freely invite you in our lives to humble us, Yahweh, for we rather accept this chastening in this world than the next, Yah. So we also ask, Yahweh, that you extend that spirit of healing to all our elderly and our sick ones, Yah, those that wish to serve you but through affliction are unable to do so. We ask that you lighten their yoke, Yahweh, and allow them to have a longer grace period in this time, to get it together, Yah, for it's not your will that any of your little ones should perish, Yah. So, Yah, all these things we humbly come before you. We thank you, we pray for your holy, humble, and your son, Yahshua HaMashiach, in which all praise, majesty, might, and dominion resides forevermore through you, Yahshua. In the name of Yahshua, we thank and pray. Amen.
Amen.